2025 has been one of the best reading years I think I've ever had, with the most 5 stars. I have read so far 122 books this year, and I have had 28 5-star reads. That means about 23% of my books have been 5-star reads. This year was not all rainbows and butterflies, contrary to what my 5 stars might be telling you. I had the most reading slumps this year. I had genre fatigue this year more so than any other year. I definitely had highs and lows with my reading, but the 5-star books that I had were incredible, 10 out of 10, and so we are going to tier rank them. The first thing we need to do is talk about these tiers. If I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at my computer in front of me. Let's start at the bottom. Would it be a 5-star upon reread? I don't know, but it was the first time. Sometimes you have this knee-jerk reaction to this book where you loved it in that moment. Maybe if you reread it, it wouldn't be a 5-star, but also you don't want to ruin that first experience of reading it. Then we have My Life Would Be Worse Without This Character. There's some books that maybe it does have a couple faults, like maybe you would give some critique to it, but it was so impactful because of one character or multiple characters that you give it a 5-star just because your life would be worse without that character. The third tier is enjoyment level was a 5, brain rot, bingeable book. I definitely had some books this year, some 5 stars this year, that were not the most literary experience, but I don't have to have a literary experience for it to be a 5-star. It was just such a fun read, addicted. And then our top tiers. Mood board and playlist was created, level 7 hyperfixation. These books probably became part of my personality for like the month that I read it in, and then it started to fade a little bit. And then the final tier is, this book changed my personality to my core. I am fundamentally different because of this book. This would be hyperfixation level 10. We're not getting past this book. We're never getting past this book. The first 5-star that I gave of the year was Quicksilver. I'm trying to remember. I did make a Kingfisher playlist. I absolutely did. So I think we're going to do Quicksilver under mood board and playlist created level 7 hyperfixation. He was like my new book husband until I continued reading for the rest of the year. I love Kingfisher in that first book. I would equate my read of Quicksilver to my read of Fourth Wing. It was one of those books that reinforced my absolute love for reading and my absolute love for the romantasy genre. The second 5-star that I read of the year, I'm pretty sure was Onyx Storm. And I think I'm gonna put it under the same, tier. I just remember reading Onyx Storm on release day, running to the bookstore, picking up the book, coming home and hopping on reading sprints with some friends, and we were all reading it together and looking up every so often and like seeing each other's faces to reactions in the book. It's such like a core memory for me, and I would say the same thing. It's one of those books that reinforced my love for reading, and also I was so happy that Onyx Storm was such a hit for me because the second book in the Empyrean series was such a letdown that it was like, oh, thank God, I love the series. The ending was so devastating. I'm still just like on the edge of my seat when I talk about Onyx Storm because of that ending. Okay, I'm gonna switch to this kind of bottom tier. Would it be a 5-star upon a reread? I don't know, but it was the first time. The first one would be A Photo Finish by Elsie Silver. The Gold Rush Ranch series had its ups and downs for me. I think when I got to A Photo Finish, I was so disappointed by the first book, and I loved Chestnut Springs so much that I like was searching for that high again with Elsie Silver, that I read A Photo Finish and I was like, okay, we're getting back to or closer to the feelings that I felt with Chestnut Springs. I don't mean to cheapen that 5-star that I gave it because I did really enjoy that book. The MMC is a broken sad boy. That is my favorite archetype of an MMC. I love an emotional man. He's grumpy, he hides his feelings, and then he has one person that he decides to open up to, and he opened up in such a big way, and the way that his character changed throughout the book was so good that I would definitely recommend it. But I'm just saying, if I read it again, depending on my mood, it might not be a 5-star. And then I think the second in this category would be Roll for Love. This book was so cute. It's a YA D&D romance. It's also gay, and I loved it. 2025 was the year that I fell in love with Dungeons and Dragons. I can't describe to you the happiness and elation upon discovering D&D romances are a thing in the bookstore. And Roll for Love was so sweet. I mean, we follow these two characters who knew each other a long time ago. They reconnect over Dungeons and Dragons. I really liked the play between their like real life, because you got to see them going about their day to day, and then you got to see how they played their characters in the game, which was so fun. You know how some books just find you at the right time and they speak to your soul, they speak to your current interests and enjoyments? That's what happened with this one. We're gonna do the third Gilmore Girl. I'm just wondering if I should put Kelly Bishop in Would It Be a 5-Star Upon Reread or My Life Would Be Worse Without This Character. You know what? Even though she's a real person, like she's not a character, I'm thinking of Emily Gilmore when I put her in My Life Would Be Worse Without This Character. Listening to celebrity memoirs on audiobook when they're narrated by the author, which they usually are, is my favorite thing. It feels like you're sitting down for coffee with this like celebrity that you love and probably have seen in a bunch of stuff, and you're just like hearing about their life. Kelly Bishop had so much more to her story than I ever realized, because the only thing that I knew her from is Gilmore Girls. It's a comfort show for sure, for sure. And you know what? It's so true that when you first watch it, because I first watched it when I was in like high school, I loved Rory. Then I loved Lorelai. Now I'm obsessed with Emily. And so listening to her like Broadway experience, listening to her whole acting career, listening to her marriages, Girly Pop has had such an interesting life. I'm obsessed with her. I want her to be my cool aunt. You know what I mean? Like, she's so freaking cool. I love Kelly Bishop. My life would be worse if I hadn't listened to that book, if I hadn't gotten to know Kelly a little bit more outside of Emily Gilmore. And I'm also gonna put Milk Fed by Melissa Broder in My Life Would Be Worse Without This Character. This was a lit fic that was almost a character study. This girl, if you like weird girl lit fic, you will love this. And I listened to this on audio as well. It's read by Melissa Broder. It's not a memoir, it's a fiction, but she read it so well. Like, you can just tell she had such a specific thought process with this main character, and she like acted her heart out in that narration. It just like fit the character so well. It's a stream of consciousness type writing style, and it was such a real portrayal of how like a thought process works. It's not fully thought out things. Like, your thoughts go into weird spirals at certain points, and that was reflected in the writing. My specific review for this was, the parallels between hunger appetite and sexual appetite had me from the beginning. But our main character is Rachel. She's 24, she's a lapsed Jew, and she's made calorie restriction her religion. She's not in like the healthiest mental space, but she is so much fun to be a fly on the wall of her thoughts and her life. I actually have so many for My Life Would Be Worse Without This Character. Okay, next we're gonna do Slewfoot. This is a book that had been on my want to read list for so long. It's a horror book. It's about a woman in Puritan Pilgrim society, and she makes a deal with the devil, or like a demon. It has to do with witchcraft, getting accused of being a witch, sort of during the Salem witch trials. I can't remember if they are actually in Salem though, but somewhere thereabouts. This story has to do with like dark feminine energy. I felt it radiating off of this book. I love the subtle conversations about people being religiously righteous, but that doesn't mean that they are good. It doesn't mean that they are correct. Evil doesn't necessarily mean a demon. In this case, I think that the devil was helping our main character, and she is such a strong female main character. I would absolutely recommend this book to you. I'm also, while we're talking about it, going to put, I don't know why this cover got cut off, but I'm gonna put Hungerstone by Kat Dunn right next to Slewfoot, because I think that the main characters in those two books would be best friends. They both have to do with like going after your deepest desires and not shaming yourself for wanting something or desiring more. And Hungerstone follows a female main character who is in a horrible marriage, and it's kind of her revenge story. Also has to do with dark feminine. Hungerstone is gay in the most amazing way. It's a Carmilla reimagining. I wouldn't necessarily call it a retelling, because Carmilla is present in the story. She plays a role, but she's more of like an influence to get the main character out of her little stuck bubble that she's in of like, I have to be the perfect wife and I'm not happy, but it doesn't matter because all that matters is that my husband is happy. Carmilla helps to break her out of that and realize that wanting is normal. And they call it Hungerstone because she has like a hunger for more, a desire for more out of her life. The main character's development throughout the story from where we start to where we end, one of my favorites. And because of Hungerstone, I'm going to be reading everything else that Kat Dunn has ever written. My life would be worse without this character, okay? I think As Many Souls as Stars, I'm going to put under this category as well. And you know what? I think that the characters in As Many Souls as Stars would be friends with Hungerstone and would be friends with Slewfoot. Honestly, maybe even friends with Rachel from Milkfed, but As Many Souls as Stars, it is very similar to Addie LaRue if Addie LaRue was gay. I was really torn about putting As Many Souls as Stars on this list because I'm actually not finished with it yet. I'm 70% of the way through the audiobook, but I had a feeling it was gonna be 5 stars and I didn't want it to be left out. We start off in 1592. Our main character's name is Sybil. She's the first daughter. First daughters are cursed for whatever reason, so she just kind of has bad luck following her around, but she's also magically inclined. Our second character is Miriam Richter. She was a person at one point, but she now is this like demon thing that is ageless and controls shadows and sort of like makes deals with the shadows. Shadows feed off of her soul so that she can do magic, but her soul is so depleted and dark at this point that she has to steal souls from other people to maintain her lifespan. And then she meets Sybil. Sybil has this glowing light radiating out of her that only Miriam can see, and immediately this demon says, I want to eat that soul, and starts to kind of target her, work her way into Sybil's life, and they end up making a deal together. So it's giving Deal with the Devil, which that's sort of the connection to Addie LaRue. It's a story that takes place with these two characters over lifespans of time, like centuries and centuries of time. Also, if you liked Peaches and Honey, this would be a great one. Their romance is perfect. It's such an interesting story about how this demon who has completely lost their humanity and only cares about eating souls and like screwing people over starts to gain humanity through love. Let me give you a couple books that completely changed my personality. And if you watch my vlogs or any of my videos, I feel like I talk about these books all the time this year since I've read them. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. I first read Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, and then I read Hungerstone shortly after, and another book that is toxic lesbian vampires. It's one of my favorite books of all time. I'm obsessed with it. V.E. Schwab absolutely outdid herself. I would also lightly compare Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil to an Addie LaRue because it's a story that spans centuries, but we follow two characters. One is more in present day. It's this young girl who goes to university, and then the second POV is a woman that we meet way back in the past, and she becomes a vampire and then kind of has to deal with her life and all those changes that it comes with of living forever and having to survive. But the vampire perspective in this, it broke her out of a miserable marriage, something that she felt very caged in because of the societal expectations on women in history. Like, she didn't want to get married at that time, but she was forced to because it was the right thing to do. And her vampirism kind of broke her out of that. Another story that also calls into question humanity, but oh my gosh, the love stories, incredible. The evolution into like darkness and decaying of souls, incredible. The writing is chronically quotable. If you love a very lush, descriptive writing style, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. The next two for Change My Personality, I have to do them at the same time. The Second Death of Locke by V.L. Bovalino and The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. Actually, I'm gonna switch these two because this is the order that it goes in. The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, I already knew that she was an author I absolutely adored because I read One Dark Window, and that consumed my entire personality in 2024. 2025, it's Night in the Moth. 2026, it's gonna be the second book in the Night in the Moth series. I'm telling you that right now. I feel like the Night in the Moth kicked off my absolute obsession with knightcore and medieval core. I'm changing all of the decor in my house to be more medievally. I love the knight archetype, and I'm not just going to say as like a male main character, because I love a lady knight as well. The second death of Locke enters the chat. It feels like such a classic love story to me, and I just love the aesthetic of it. I'm not joking, it's changed my personality. I'm currently doing a reading vlog that is reading all medieval books, and I'm having the time of my life. You know how maybe it doesn't happen for everybody, but you just get obsessed with a certain period of time that you feel like you're connected to it in your soul? For some people, I feel like it's ancient Egypt. For other people, it's like the French Revolution. For me, it's medieval times. I have to put Empire of Dawn by Jay Kristoff under mood board and playlist created, level 7 hyperfixation. This was the conclusion to the Empire of the Vampire series. Even though I will never fully read Nevernight, and I've DNF'd it like 3 or 4 times at this point, Empire of the Vampire has solidified Jay Kristoff as one of my favorite authors. He's an author who tells an epic story with really flawed characters, and he's not afraid to just absolutely destroy his readers. He will just go there, and it's like no character has plot armor. Let's do enjoyment level was a 5-star, brain rot, bingeable book, because it's Zodiac Academy, babies, obviously. And I've given so many of these books 5 stars. This is a series that I was so afraid to start because of the hype, and it's a long series. I think there's 8 books, 9 books, and they just get longer and longer and longer and longer. Even though most of them are upwards of like 750 pages, a bunch of them are like 900 pages. They read like they're 400-page books. And the story is so bingeable. It's like Twilight. Twilight took over my whole life when I read it as a teenager, and that's how I feel about Zodiac Academy. Is the writing like the best thing that I've ever read? No, but I'm along for just a fun time. If you want to just turn your brain off, if you want to have really easy writing to just dive into with characters that are so badass, and it's so addicting. And even though you get so angry at some of the characters, like I'm still so freaking mad at Tori after reading books 4 and 5. I just want to shake them. I love feeling like that. It doesn't make me question whether I'm invested in the story. It doesn't make me question whether I'm gonna continue reading, because if the characters can make me so angry or so sad or so happy, that's a 5-star. Fragile Sanctuary by Catherine Cowles, I'm gonna put under would it be a 5-star upon reread. I fell in love with romantic suspense this year. Catherine Cowles' entire Sparrow Falls series is so much freaking fun. She's such a good romantic suspense author. She's definitely, I would describe her as a formulaic author. Like, she has the same formula to her stories, but Sparrow Falls was so good. I actually became an ARC reader for her. I still give very honest reviews. Some of these books have been like 3 stars for me in the series, and that might be polluting my impression of Fragile Sanctuary upon memory, because I had a fantastic time reading this book. It's a brother's best friend. He's like the contractor to her house that she's building. He's closed off to her, and she keeps trying to like break his walls, kill him with kindness, but then when he sees her like fall apart, they really come together like magnets. If you want a bingeable series, I'm telling you, Sparrow Falls. I love Catherine Cowles. I just wonder, maybe it would be. I'm not saying it wouldn't be. It might be a 5-star upon a reread, but from like my memory, it's gonna go under that tier. But I had a wonderful time with it. It was so fun. The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. I loved this book when I read it. I loved this book when I read it, but I'm really questioning Jessa Hastings because of her support with AI, and it just makes me scared, because did she have AI help her write this book? And I think that that makes me like it less, and I don't know if I would reread it, but I loved it. I loved it when I read it. Silver Elite, another romantasy book, romantasy dystopian, that made me remember why I love romantasy. I read The Hunger Games when I was much younger when those books were coming out. As someone who has moved away from dystopian for a very long time, like Hunger Games was probably the last dystopian that I really read and enjoyed, and I haven't touched it much since then. Silver Elite reignited that enjoyment of dystopian, and now I'm like searching actively for more dystopian books because of it. I definitely made a mood board. I made an entire spread in my bullet journal about Silver Elite. I became obsessed. I also think it plays off of that like military school dynamic, which was in Fourth Wing, which I loved. I'm really torn about where I want to put Empire of Storms. You know what? I'm gonna put Empire of Storms in enjoyment level was a 5-star brain rot bingeable book, because when I think about Throne of Glass as a whole, I had to reread some of the series this year so that I could like finish the series. That was my goal. And I just feel like it tells such an epic story over so many books, but I do feel like overall it's a YA series that when you reflect on it, it feels a bit disjointed for me. I loved Empire of Storms. Empire of Storms was like the pinnacle for me. And then when I got to Tower of Dawn, I was like, yeah, okay. And I still have to finish Kingdom of Ash. I'm like halfway through and I need to pick it back up again. Don't come for me. But I really feel like Empire of Storms was just that moment in the series where I was like, I'm so happy that I kept reading. This book is so good and it's so bingeable. And even though that book is long, like close to 700 pages, flew through it, did not want to put it down. I did not do the tandem read. I read Empire of Storms cover to cover before I even touched Tower of Dawn. I love, probably my favorite book in the series. Y'all, if you haven't read The Wind Weaver by Julie Johnson yet, what are you doing? If you love romantasy, you have to read it. It's a book that I would not have picked up without my Fairy Loot romantasy book box, and that's not a plug because I've definitely had some misses with Fairy Loot, but this was a book where I just gave it a chance and it did not disappoint. Another book that I cannot wait for the next book in the series. I'm like foaming at the mouth for it. I was so addicted. Another book that I made an entire mood board spread in my bullet journal for. I made a playlist for. I loved the beginning. In the beginning, our main character is taken captive and then she's stolen and taken captive by like another person. It turns out that there's these magic people who have control over one element and they're destined to find each other over and over and over again, lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes, because they have to come together to balance magic and they've not been able to do so. And that's their mission, but they keep failing. And when they fail and one of them dies, they have to start over until they can find the next person who's been reborn. It's almost giving like Avatar: The Last Airbender, because this like avatar gets reincarnated, but they can only control one element. Fire Daddy and Water Daddy, love them. They fight and I am obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with it. And I also hope that they fight over our main girly pop who controls the wind. These last ones are getting so hard. Don't Let the Forest In changed my personality because that was the first book and I think it was C.G. Drew's debut. It's a YA horror, but it goes there. Sometimes I feel like when you say YA, people are like, okay, because they just don't feel like there's gonna be enough depth in the story, and I felt that way before. It's only reflected that their characters are a certain age, but it does not mean that there's a lack of emotional depth because these characters deal with tough things. It's also gay. In Don't Let the Forest In, there's asexual representation, which was done so well. It helped me as someone who's like not asexual understand it better, of like what the thought processes look like. We follow two boys who are friends for a very long time. One of them is asexual, but he like has a crush on his best friend. I would say like family-wise, they don't have the happiest of home lives. They have this like codependence on each other that is not the healthiest, but it's so sweet. And they have this issue where one of them writes stories, the other one draws the stories. The stories are about monsters, and then these monsters start to come to life and wreak havoc on the boys and kind of the school. So good. It's so creative. I love C.G. Drew's. This book really solidified that I love C.G. Drew's, and I'm going to keep reading whatever they put out. And also, this author does not stop writing. They have so many books coming out because not only did they release Don't Let the Forest In, they released Hazelthorn, And I'm just trying to figure out, and I love them too. I don't know if I should put it in change my personality or mood board and playlist level 7 hyperfixation. You know what? No. The impact was a little bit less, but only because I then had such a high expectation of CG Drews. But you know what? Hazelthorn met those expectations. The characters are a little bit similar. Oh, there's something I want to say, but I can't because I don't want to spoil anything. It also has to do with gay, emotional, codependent boys and monsters. And we're gonna leave it at that. Also, Hazelthorn has a very like haunty, creepy, botanical, plant horror, body horror atmosphere, and I loved it. I loved it so, so much. We Could Be Rats by Emily Austen. I'm gonna put under My Life Would Be Worse Without This Character. Content warnings for suicide in this one because it's literally two sisters. It's talking about their childhood, it's talking about growing up, it's talking about the power of imagination is really true. But Sigrid is writing drafts of her suicide note to her sister. So I'm just gonna put that out there. It's told so beautifully, and even though that sounds really deep and dark, and it is because of just that subject matter, there's so much humor. If you like dark humor, I think that you will really like this book. Even in Death, I'm not sure if I want to put it under My Life Would Be Worse Without This Character or mood board and playlist created level 7 hyperfixation, because I love these characters. It's also a gay story. It's about a god of death who has a hate to love, enemies to lovers relationship with a necromancer, and they beef because the necromancer keeps stealing people from death and like reincarnating them and bringing them back to life. They are like zombies, they're not like fully reincarnated, and Death is like, you can't do that, you're breaking the rules. And I love their story so much. It's so tragic, it's so heartbreaking. I'm gonna be reading more from Randy Gardner, and if you haven't read anything by her, you absolutely need to. I think I'm gonna do My Life Would Be Worse Without These Characters because I love them. I love them. I love their relationship so freaking much. I'm gonna put Rebel Witch under enjoyment level was a 5-star brain rot bingeable book because Rebel Witch is the second book in a duology. It's a YA. I thought the romance was done so well. The plot was there, but I don't think it was the strongest in book 2, but I'm so excited to read more from Kristen Ciccarelli because she has so much potential to create like a more fleshed out story. But the romance was top tier. It's a witch and a witch hunter romance. Okay, these two, I'm so torn because I don't know where to put them. I loved them. I think, you know what? I think that both In the Veins of Drowning and Servant of Earth are gonna go under enjoyment level was a 5, brain rot bingeable book. Even though the reason I'm hesitant is because I don't consider brain rot for In the Veins of Drowning or Servant of Earth because these writing styles were so good and they were so fleshed out. I don't know what that noise was. In the Veins of Drowning is like dark gothic sirens, but don't think like mermaids, think like evil sea witches, but not all of them are evil. Some of them are though. The romance is like a forbidden romance, but their magnetism to each other just overpowers what either of them wanted. Also, the MMC is a king or a prince to a territory, a king, and he has an arranged marriage, but he can't help the way he feels about our FMC and the way that our FMC goes about like trying to manipulate him, and he kind of like sees through it, but even though he sees through it, he still like falls for it because he likes her, and their tension was so good. I really enjoyed the atmosphere. There's scenes in this book that I just remember so vividly, like a movie in my head, and any book that does that is a 5-star. Another series that I can't wait for the sequel in. And then Servant of Earth, such a breath of fresh air to fae romantasy for me that it immediately skyrocketed to 5-star like favorite book of the year. I feel like I've just read so many fae romantasy that some of them feel very carbon copies of each other, especially when the books are overly tropey, because then it just feels like it's not my house but I know my way around type situation. Servant of Earth felt very new and fresh because the fae live underground. So she is a servant to the fae in the Earth house. She's a human. She has to help her mistress survive these deadly trials. It sounds tropey and I know it and I hear it when I say it out loud, but the trials were so high suspense and I loved the way that they were done that it kept me engaged the entire time. And I'm telling you, it didn't read like it was a carbon copy of other books. The cliffhanger at the end was so interesting and I can't wait to see where it goes, because there is this mysterious house of blood that was tarnished and no longer exists. But even though it's House of Blood, at least right now, it's not giving vampire. It felt more, at least to me in that first book, demony monstery, which I love, if you can tell from any of my other 5 stars. So those are the 28 books, holy moly, that we gave 5 stars in 2025. Please let me know if we have any overlap with our 5 stars. Please let me know if you heard the way I was talking about some of these books, if you have recommendations for something you think I would really enjoy. Please leave those in the comments down below, and thank you in advance. I will catch you in the comments and I will see you in my next one very soon. Toodles!